What's up YouTube? It's Todd Horst here with Tasty Tracker, and I have a video today. It's actually two-part, and this is the first part. I'll have the other part tomorrow. This one is I Have FOBU. So what is that? I don't know if it's an actual term. I just made it up, but maybe it's been used before. I have a fear of blowing up my account, and I think that's only healthy, that when your account gets large enough that you care enough to not blow up your account. So that's exactly why we don't do WSB, Wall Street Bets style plays here. I'm not gambling. I'm not trying to become a millionaire in the shortest period of time. I have a steady job that provides enough income for me to live off of. This is really something I do for fun, of course, for side money, for retirement, for things like that. But my base income is enough for me to live off of. So there's no need for me to try to hit the biggest home run that I can. But anyway, because my account has grown large enough and I have enough responsibilities in my life, I'm not looking to gamble so much so that I run the risk of blowing up my account. So anyway, if you're interested in what I'm doing to help mitigate that, then you can watch these two videos, and hopefully that would give you some context and some ideas on how you can keep your account safe. So where did this all, what did this all spawn from? Well, anyone who's been bullish for the last 5 months has been making a killing. I know I personally have on my accounts, and I know there are a lot of other people. I've seen a lot of people posting how they haven't lost any position in so many months. My only gripe with that is they're acting like they're some sort of investing genius. If you've been bullish on the market, nobody's lost any positions. It's only the people that have been bearish or playing stupid, ridiculous plays that would always lose. Those are the only people that are losing money. So I've doubled my small account challenge. You can watch those videos, and that's from the beginning value. If you will look at the low from the very bottom of the virus, I have quadrupled my account from there. And to give you some context of my account size, when I'm playing with accounts below 10,000, I don't really mind having 100% invested in options. If I were to lose all of that, it would sting a little bit, but ultimately it's not the end of the world for me personally. Obviously, everybody has their own numbers, what that would feel like, but you can imagine an account that you really don't care about if you lost that much money. You can still sleep, and it's not the end of the world. But around 15,000, I start to get a little bit nervous having 100% invested. Even if I'm doing something more conservative like I typically do, which is bullish put spreads, credit spreads, and I choose strikes that are have a 60 to 70% win rate. So those are what I would consider to be fairly conservative. But even with those things, once I get to $15,000 fully invested, then I start to get a little bit nervous, especially if the market is indecisive like it is right now. It doesn't know whether it wants to make new all-time highs or whether it wants to retrace some before it goes up. And for context, well, that could pay off the remaining balance on my truck. That could pay for siding for my cabin. So 15,000 to me is not nothing. It's not really so much about the dollar amount. It's about how much is allocated in that account. So, if I have a $100,000 account, I don't mind having $50,000, but I do mind having $15,000 invested if that account only has 15,000. I don't want to blow up any of my accounts. I've never blown up an account before. That's something that I pride myself on, and I don't ever intend to. And it doesn't matter which account it is, whether it's a small Robinhood account or whether it's my IRA. I have many accounts, at least one with each broker, and I do different things on each one. And each one obviously has different balances. So anyway, it's not really about the dollar amounts per se, it's about the percentage of the account that's allocated. So the point is, when I get to 15,000 and I have 100% of that, then I want to start scaling it back to be a more, I guess, level-headed allocation amount. And typically I've talked about, only 50% allocated or something like that. And it's one of those classic things where we all know that that's what we should be doing, especially me that's preaching that, but it's still something that I have personal issues sticking to, and that's probably why I try to preach that the most, because I'm talking to people that are like me. But the one thing that I have definitely noticed is with each different account size, you sort of get desensitized, and you need to allow yourself that time to get desensitized to the amount of money you're investing or trading with, because if you are over invested, over trading, you're not going to be able to sleep at night, and nobody wants to live their life that way. So you need to gradually build yourself up until you can desensitize yourself to it and sort of get used to that amount. Typically speaking, I have a high risk tolerance. If you're watching the small account challenge, I halved my account, and that didn't really shake me. Of course, there again, that was only a $2,000 account, but I've halved larger accounts. I'll just leave it at that, and I've bounced back on every single time, and that is for other people that might cause them to make irrational decisions. I sort of instead of buckling under pressure, I tend to do best under pressure. So it's when I sort of get a larger account that I start getting sloppier, which is kind of what this whole video is about, if I can get to the point here. Anyway, I have a high risk tolerance, but I have a family. I can't lose $100,000. I watched a video of where Wall Street Bets guy took $100,000 down to, it was like $30 or $3 or something like that, ridiculous. I can't do that. I have a wife I have to report to, I have kids, and I want to look out for their well-being in the future. I want to provide the best life for my family that I can. And so losing $100,000 is not an option for me. And so I want to figure out the best way I can make sure that I stay in the game and I continue moving forward. The safer you want to be, though, as always, there are trade-offs, and that means it's going to take me longer. So potentially, I mean, some of the people that are shooting for the stars get there. Other people quit long before they ever do, and I would rather do a slow, steady pace and get there eventually. So what I was doing prior to COVID was long VIX calls, and they would be pretty far out, but I'll get to that in a second. I had two sets, and I made 2,000% on one and 1,500 on the other one, which was enough to keep my accounts going. It wasn't and have enough to bounce back. That plus the original or some of the positions did turn out to be profitable, but other ones were losers. But because of my VIX hedge, that was enough to set them offset it. So, however, I still basically halved my account. In a normal environment, I would be buying the 10 Delta about 120 days to expiration for about $60 and buy a couple of those. And, I think I might have had 4 or 5 contracts on the one and on the one set, and then another 3 or 4 on the other set. But right now, VIX is still a bit inflated. So it's not the best time to be implementing this, because when you're buying the 10% delta, it's still a higher strike. And you might never hit that amount if an event happened. So you can't insure your entire account unless you commit a large amount of money to these fixed calls. And if you do, that's going to be a large drain on your account every single month. It also requires that you know the correct time to close the calls. Maybe you hold on to those too long because you think it's going to go up and up and up, and then it reverses on you. Luckily, I closed before the peak. Wasn't substantially before, so I I did luck out on that where I got pretty good timing on closing those. But it does require the drop to be large enough to make it to your calls to give them any sort of value. So if SPY only drops, you know, whatever, 5% or something like that, it might be enough, depending on how bullish your portfolio is, that might be enough to kill all your positions, but it's certainly not enough to make VIX jump meaningfully enough to make your calls worth anything. So that's just a couple things there. So with cash, I was saying I typically like to have about 25 to 50% in cash. I'll typically hover around 25%, and in the extremes, I'll have, you know, maybe less than 5%. Typically, I'll go to those extremes if I have, say, 2 or 3 positions that are about to come off. They're already at 40% profit, and so it's going to be another 2 or 3 days, and then those will be closed. Then I don't mind putting another set of positions on with the expectation that those will close in a couple days, and then I'll be back to 25% open. So that's typically how I work. But I definitely do spreads, which helps ensure that things are defined before I enter them. I know exactly how much I could win and how much I could lose. So that helps, first of all, not be as risky, but you know, I'm not going to get a margin call or anything like that. So I'm not going to have to pull money from my personal accounts to dump into these to cover it. So we all struggle with temptation, but because of FOBU, I actually am less tempted on the larger accounts. It's sort of reverse of what I initially would have thought. So if you asked me a couple years ago, the larger account that I get, the more I want to protect that because I worked hard to build it to that size, and the larger number is more meaningful to me. Again, losing 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 would obviously stink, but it's not the end of the world for me. But when you're talking about a $50,000 or $100,000, I don't want to lose that because I could buy 2 down payments on 2 rental properties for with $100,000. So that's a big deal to me. So some other ways you can keep your account safe is by doing varied expirations. Make sure you're buying on the dips and make sure you're following the trends. Buying on the dips would also be buying on the spikes in a bear market. So whatever SPY is it above or below the SMAs? That's what the market we're in, and you need to be following that trend. So generally with my account management, this is nothing special or unique. And the only reason I'm really separating this video from the next video is because the next one will be too long. So this is sort of the primer, the context, but I realize this is not mind-blowing, but I'm using the money that I'm making on my options positions, and instead of keeping it in cash, which I'll be tempted to use, I'm then using that money to purchase stock. The options positions obviously are more risky than straight stock, so if I have 25 to 50% of my account in stock and my options positions completely go south, I can sell that stock and start back over with options and work to build my account up from there. Of course, when you're doing that, your monthly ROI on your account, on your total account, is going to be less, but you'll see your monthly dollar gain increase. So that's really on my small account challenge. I'm looking at my month-over-month percentage increase on my account. But in my IRA and other accounts that are larger, I'm looking to increase my dollar gain on that account per month, and not necessarily looking at the percentage increase because it's going to be lower because I'm not allocating as much of my account. All that said, so when I'm looking at stocks, what do I want to pick? I don't want to get something that doesn't increase in value. And you know, in researching, you're thinking, oh, dividend stocks are the right way to go. A lot of people are preaching them, and they seem like a great idea, getting paid for doing nothing. But if you dig into a lot of those dividend stocks, they're flat or dying companies, and and they're paying out because they're not innovating anymore. So I'm not interested in stocks that are losing money. They can't keep up with inflation. Those kinds of things. If you are making money with dividends, but you're losing money net because of the stock decreasing in value, that's still a loss to me, so that doesn't really add up. Stocks are obviously incredibly inefficient use of capital, but in this case, we're not necessarily looking to make money as much as we are looking to keep it safe, sort of on the sidelines, ready to call when we need it. And individual stocks for me are hard to choose. I can basically come up with a list of negatives for almost any company. One of my picks that will be in the next video, I have 23 picked out. One of those picks is Apple. Well, I don't actually even like Apple products. I think their lineup is stale. They're overpriced. They haven't innovated anything in a while. Those are just my opinions. But those are the negatives I see with Apple. The reason it's made my list is because they're very smart fiscally at this point in time, and I don't see that going away in the near term or even the next 5 years. So I would consider that to be a longer hold, 5 years, because in that time I don't see them going anywhere but sideways or up. So yeah, so I picked 23 symbols. I'll go over those in my next video. Fair warning, most are ETFs and not stocks because of the above mentioned reasons, where I can basically see a reason for any company to go down. And excuse me, so I'll discuss that in that video. But yeah, so again, this was just a primer to get a quick video out to so I don't have to talk so much about this stuff in my next video, and we can jump right in. My website is Tasty Tracker, and it's free. You can create an account, track your stocks and option trades, and if you want to, you can get my alerts. So anyway, share, comment, like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.